When I got this car over a year ago, I didn't even notice that I had two right-hand chokes. After working through a few other issues, I did ultimately realize it, and a little more than a year later, I wound up purchasing a left-hand choke, which just happened to be an NOS. As you can see, the choke on the right carburetor does have the RE, indicating that it is the right choke as opposed to the left choke. Unfortunately, so does the left. Yes, I do still plan to do something better here. Fortunately, this choke does not have RE or LI or whatever it is. But you can see they are facing the opposite direction. For anyone who's unfamiliar, it's a fairly simple operation. This right here is directly connected to the choke flap valve, whatever you like to call it. And so this little hook on the end of this coil, if you will, grabs hold of that. Spin it around until that's shut. And then when it heats up, it'll open it up slowly but surely. As you can see, both chokes are closed.
Now is a decent time to mention that the RE choke actually installs on the left carburetor and LI on the right. I theorized that from the perspective of the choke flap itself, the electric choke must heat up and spin it to the right, or clockwise. I honestly don't care much, I'm just glad I made damn sure I was buying the correct one. Here I set out to capture that beautiful scene where the engine warmed up in tune with both chokes operating in concert, hearing the engine reach that relatively perfect pitch. As you can see, what I got instead was a very clear indication that something was wrong with my new choke.
Well, I was glad I was at least able to get the operational functionality of this choke on camera once. It tested good before I installed it, and then I installed it, and apparently it has totally failed. I've had this thing hooked up for several minutes. It hasn't moved a bit, so I went ahead and put this test light in line of the ground so that I could see if there's any flow. There's clearly not any flow. Just amazing. And there's the choke that I took off of there, which is the wrong side choke, proving that, yes, you should see that light up when there's flow. Over the years, I've learned the benefit of walking away from a problem and allowing the answer to come to me naturally when I stop trying to figure out the solution. And that's what happened to me last night after deciding to put this choke back into place. Later on, I thought about it some more, came back out, and I did find my answer. A couple of hours after giving up on my choke last night, I came back out and had another look at it. And if you recall, my test light did not light up last time I did this test. But what I did was I actually went on the inside of the body here, and you'll see it kind of lights up. It doesn't light up great all the time. And it wasn't lighting up initially, but when I started to push my tester, I scraped away at the oxidation. And that was when I realized for sure what my problem was. And my problem was simply oxidation. And as you can see here, I have since removed some more oxidation using some quad-aught steel wool so that I can get a really nice ground. So how exactly does a choke work? Well, you can see other people talk about it, and they'll explain that you hook up your 12 volts or 6 volts or whatever, and this spring will ultimately heat up and move around as it heats up. But further, when that isn't working, why isn't it working? Well, this is a really simple device, actually. And you can see we come in with our positive 12 volts to this terminal here, and you can see this sort of rivet that connects it through this insulating block here. And what does it connect it to? Well, if we move this spring out of the way a little bit, you can kind of see down in there, that's the other side of that rivet there. And if you get a really good look in there, we have a heating element, not dissimilar from a clothes dryer on a smaller scale. And if we move that out of the way again, you can kind of see how it travels around the diameter in there, being held in place by this insulating block here, this white material, all the way around to that point, which connects through to this rivet, which ultimately connects that to the body of the choke. So in order for this to work, we need to be able to have electricity flow through that heating element. And how does electricity flow? Well, we need our positive 12 volts to connect here. And since this is connecting to the other side of our heating element, we need to be able to ground the body of the choke. One thing that I believe is fairly unique to the 32 PDSIT carburetor that is on these Type 3s is exactly how the choke body grounds, right? And so the engine is grounded, and that's going to travel up through the manifold and into the body of the carburetor. But we're not grounding through this surface here because there's a gasket that goes between it and the body of the carburetor. So we are primarily grounding through this surface right here, and secondarily this surface right here, by means of this ring here, which clamps it to the surface of the carburetor. But this ring itself also does not make direct contact with the body of the carburetor. It ultimately receives its ground through the metal screws that go into the body of the carburetor. So I've already scuffed up with some quad-aught steel wool the body of the choke. I'm now going to do the same thing to this, as well as clean up this screw a bit, and the other two as well. Now, I have absolutely no delusions that cleaning up the tops and sides of these screws does anything to benefit the flow of electricity, but I did it anyway while also cleaning the back side. And gave that a little bit of a polish. So let's get this stuff installed. And with that out of the way, it's time for the big reveal.
So, why do we have to feather the throttle when an engine is cold and we don't have functioning chokes? Well, a cold engine wants to run rich, and there's basically two ways to accomplish a rich condition. Either you can decrease the air or increase the fuel. Before fuel injection, some really smart guys came up with a way to limit airflow in the form of a choke. Of course, originally they were manually operated and later improved upon with this ingenious design you see in action here.
So, surely an unused choke is going to activate it a bit quicker than the remote one, but it also was a little bit more open than that side right to begin with. So I think I need to adjust that a little bit, close it off a little bit more so it matches better. But we can see now that this is opening a little bit better. The other thing is these carburetors both need to be rebuilt, and they're a little gunky. So this isn't a super fair test. Also, I have not performed the polishing on this guy. You know, the electricity may not be flowing quite as freely through the heating element. But here we go. We can see it coming up now. Beautiful thing.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed the video. It's always exciting to me when I'm able to put something out there that I wasn't already able to find elsewhere. Stay tuned for more improvements this year. As you can see, I've got lots of plans. Oh yes, if you're enjoying my content, feel free to think about subscribing and hitting the notification bell and telling other people about it and all these fun things.